Most people who learn a second language never truly think in it. They may become fluent, they may work in it, they may hold conversations without difficulty. Over time, they may even stop consciously translating individual words. Yet, when they are alone with their thoughts, most still return to the language that feels most natural, the language they grew up with, the language through which they instinctively understand the world. I've been wondering whether the way we understand money might work in a similar way. Naturally, we think in the currency we grew up with, the one through which we intuitively understand prices, wages, savings, and expenses. But what about other currencies? We use them, we can even become familiar with them, but thinking in them, that is another step altogether. A person can spend years traveling through Europe and still instinctively convert euros back into dollars. The euro may be useful, it may even be preferred in certain situations, yet their native monetary language remains unchanged. What about Bitcoin? Can we talk about it in the same way as other currencies? I think we can, although direct comparisons are difficult because the Bitcoin economy is still very small. Many people own Bitcoin, many understand Bitcoin, some save in Bitcoin, some use it. Yet I suspect most Bitcoiners still do the same thing. They translate Bitcoin back into dollars before deciding what something is worth. In other words, they use Bitcoin, but they do not yet think in Bitcoin. Imagine somebody tells us they earn $80,000 a year. We immediately have some sense of what that means. Or imagine somebody tells us a house costs $1 million. We may think it is expensive, cheap, or somewhere in between, but the figure itself makes sense. No translation is required. The dollar is the measuring stick we have spent our entire lives using. Now, compare that with somebody telling you a house costs 10 Bitcoin. Is that expensive? Is it cheap? Most people genuinely wouldn't know. The first thing they would do is convert it back into dollars. Only then could they decide. Some mental effort is required before the number means anything. But that is today. What if Bitcoin continues to grow and there is some sort of monetary transition where the pendulum gradually moves away from fiat and towards an alternative, say Bitcoin? Around the midpoint of such a transition, there would likely be a period where both ways of thinking, fiat and Bitcoin, existed at the same time. A period where both measuring sticks remain relevant. This middle period will almost certainly be messy. Some people would continue thinking primarily in dollars. Others would increasingly think in Bitcoin. Many would move back and forth between the two, depending on the situation. Picture yourself walking into a coffee shop. You order a coffee and glance at the menu board. Next to the coffee, you see two prices, $6 and 4,500 sats. This is not an unrealistic scenario. In places such as El Salvador, this already plays out in real life. Naturally, most people would first focus on the price that feels familiar to them. But then many would feel the need to compare the two. The person thinking in fiat would translate the Bitcoin price back into dollars. The person thinking in Bitcoin would do the opposite. Of course, today we are still a long way from this. Our current monetary system, the only one most of us have ever known, won't be replaced overnight. Changes of this magnitude tend to unfold over decades, perhaps even generations. In the case of Bitcoin, adoption may be deeper than simple ownership. It may begin with owning Bitcoin, then understanding it, then using it, and perhaps one day thinking in it. At that point, Bitcoin would no longer feel like a foreign monetary language. It would simply be the language through which value was understood. It would be the new measuring stick. It would mean that translation would no longer be necessary. I've written more about this on Substack, if you prefer reading. The link is in the pinned description.